place of nurturing the children, both biological and otherwise, that God blessed us with. It is a place where I was able to cook and share food, either on mats or a dining table. I started my nest when I was in a modern setting, so we had a dining table from the word go. It is a place where you have a place where you can comfortably lie to sleep at the end of the day. So the same thing happens to the birds that have their nests up in the trees. They make sure that it is secure enough that the eggs will not fall, that when the eggs are hatched, the chicks will not fall off. So it is a place where they can keep warm together. There are conversations, and there are lots of beautiful things which happen as parents raise children. And I'm talking about parents well aware that sometimes we have parents who are single, sometimes you have parents who are, you have both parents, father and mother. Sometimes you have a parent figure in somebody's life, and maybe they are grandparents or a guardian of whatever sort. So having this nest does not require you to have the children in that being your biological children. But in that nest, you have families that you raise, and that is what we go through. So breaking down this topic, what is emptiness? Emptiness is essentially a state of being unoccupied, a state of being vacant or devoid of something. If a house is empty, then it means maybe there is nobody living in it. And you usually hear people talking about, do you have an empty house, if they are looking for a place to rent, or if it is been occupied before and then somebody moves out, it becomes empty until somebody else comes to occupy it. And to embrace is basically a concept which tells us that we need to be able to accept, we need to be open to, or we need to welcome either something or someone. Sometimes it is ideas, somebody shares an idea. To embrace that idea, it means you need to think about it and allow it to be positive and look at it and see what that idea is going to lead up to. So the emptiness phrase and phase in our lives can be bitter sweet, as I'll share a testimony of one of my friends who I interviewed, and she didn't know why I was asking her those questions, but it brought out the real sense of what I expected to hear from her as an empty nester, a mother of one like me. So what is an empty nest? An empty nest basically refers to a situation where parents or their parents' children or a child has grown up and has left the family home, thereby leaving those people alone. And there are reasons why children leave home. Sometimes we find that some people start becoming empty nesters from very early in life when they send their children, even in kindergarten, and they take them to boarding school, or when they're in lower primary, they take them to boarding school. So a child spends close to 9 months in a year away at school, and during that time, the emptiness of the child's absence is felt in that home. Sometimes children move out of their parents' homes, like I did, first because of my education, but later when I got married and I set up my own home. Sometimes you find that even when a child would have still been staying at home, there are those who have jobs which take them to different locations far away from home, and that necessitates their moving away from the family home. And there are times also when young people just choose that they want to be independent and choose to move away from home and live their lives alone. When such a situation happens, many changes occur to both the child who has moved out and to the parent or guardian who have stayed behind in their homes. And emotions usually come. They are mixed emotions. I say they can be bittersweet. Sometimes it's joyful, like when a child gets married. Most parents will feel happy for their children to have their own homes, and they know that this child has matured. And even the Bible tells us that, yes, and that is why a man will leave his parents and go and set up home with his wife. I'm paraphrasing Genesis. But sometimes there is a lot of nostalgia, there is a lot of missing the past life. Definitely the time when my children went to university, that was the first time that we became empty nesters, Ivan and I, because we had kept them in day school right from kindergarten until they completed their A level. But we couldn't keep them forever. So time came, they had to move away. They were also anxious to move away from us. I mean, they felt that they needed a bit of their freedom. And for us, it was even worse. They moved so far away, they went out of the country. So there were feelings that we started missing the times that we had together, the common times, the common spaces we shared with them. So there was a lot of nostalgia, there was a bit of sadness, but also there was a lot of eagerness to have them back. The children were studying in Pretoria, South Africa, but we made every effort, even when they had a break for even 1 week, we'd find a way of getting them to fly back home because we felt that home was better than us going to visit them. That was the sense of emptiness. We started feeling it, but it prepared us for the later stages of life when they moved and they found out they are like Elena has found her space in eternity, and Yvonne is married very far away from me. The other thing that comes with empty nesting is that it gives us a sense of freedom because when you are raising children, it comes with a lot of work. They come off and they are still young, they need a lot of help in practically everything. And I don't know about other countries, but I know the curriculum in Uganda is so heavy that you don't only look after your children by providing for them, but you are also their teacher, an academic teacher, so to speak, because you have to help them with homework right from the beginning. You have to check that they've done their homework. If they don't do that, then the child will be in trouble and you ultimately will be affected when they reprimand the child. But sometimes it also comes with a freedom that when that phase is done, sometimes, yes, we feel happy that, oh, I've accomplished my task for the season that God placed these children in my hands. And I have a lot of free time on my hands. And we empty nesters look at that as seasons for developing ourselves in areas that we had packed aside, or picking up hobbies which we had not actually nurtured, or even developing new hobbies, as the case may be. I just want to give a biblical perspective to empty nesting. And the creation story, like I mentioned earlier, already points to it, that there is a time that we have to leave our parents' homes and go and be joined with our husbands, our wives, and we set up our own homes. And when that happens, definitely there is no way you can be married and still be in your parents' home. It can't work out that way. Although I know of cases where some young men do not want to leave their parents, or sometimes it is the mothers especially who want to cleave onto these young men, forgetting that the boy has grown and is now a man and has a family of his own. And the Bible still goes ahead to tell us that in Genesis, rather in Psalm 127, verse 3, that God blesses us with children, and children are heritage from God, whether they are yours biologically or they are those that God has placed in your hands to care for them. They are a reward from Him. And when God gives us these children, it means there is work that He expects us to do so that we train them up, so that when they grow up, they will still be good citizens, because He did not create us to bring forth children who are going to be chaotic. Empty nesting also comes as a result of transitions, which are neither related to school going, which are neither related to marriage, but just because of certain circumstances. And what came to mind when I was preparing was the story of Jacob and his brother Esau. When Esau sold his birthright, their mother decided to send Jacob to go and live with her brother Laban. And we'll find that in Genesis chapter 27. So this empty nest situation was caused prematurely because of what had the rift that had grown between the two children. But sometimes, even in our olden days, we used to have cases where some parents choose to send their children to either go and live, and it still happens now, to live with their grandparents, maybe because of their arrangements. They don't have somebody to care for the children where they are. And so they send the children to go and live with either another relative or with grandparents. So that is similar to Jacob's story. And then sometimes, like I said, that my daughter Elena transitioned in death. So that created an emptiness in our home, because in our home we had a house, we had bedrooms, everybody had a bedroom. So when she left, there was a bedroom which was hers. And up to now, we still labeled it because we identified it. She chose it, she chose the colors and the theme for everything. So the way we refer to it when we are describing that space, we still refer to it as L's room, just for purposes of making the directions much more clearer. But a case in the Bible is in Genesis chapter 38, where Judah married a wife, and one by one, the sons born by that wife died. So Judah ended up finding himself, and eventually his wife also died. Judah found himself an empty nester, and then ended up where he went. And the story of what happened between him and Tamar is not our focus today, but that was also one of the situations which led to a situation of an emptiness in somebody's life. And it can happen in different people have different things that cause the emptiness in their lives. But ultimately what happens is that there is a movement of children from that home to another place. So our topic today is telling us to embrace the emptiness season in our lives. And the Bible is very good, and in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verses 1 and 2, we are told that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to move out, a time to plant, a time to do so many things. So this passage is essentially telling us, in other words, that in these seasons, the emptiness is going to come as part of life's journey, and we must embrace them. What does it entail for us to embrace the emptiness? Embracing the emptiness is not a very easy thing. Like my friend shared, she first of all laughed and she almost resisted her daughter's getting married. Not because she did not like the man that the daughter was getting married to, but having an only child who was now going to move out of home, and her life had all along been rotating around this one child. So she thought that maybe this man is going to take away her joy, is going to take away her precious jewel. And she was very troubled, but anyway, eventually she confessed, she repented, and she acknowledged that that change had to come. And in her sharing, she told me that later on she was very, very happy when her daughter gave birth to her first grandchild, the first of 4 grandchildren. So she got very excited about that and now started looking at the positive side of being an empty nester, knowing that yes, I had one child biologically, but now through my daughter, I have so far got one, and then the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. And she's a very, very happy woman today. And she doesn't regret any moment of her empty nesting. Luckily for her, she's not so far away from where the daughter lives. So she has times and opportunities of visiting them, and the grandchildren also love her so much. In fact, her eldest grandchild calls her mommy, not grandma. So it takes us to be able to accept the change that has come and acknowledge our emotions, just like this friend of mine struggled and eventually settled down, and she's now a very happy empty nester. But even when the daughter left her room, her bedroom is still space for her children whenever they go to visit the mom. When we become empty nesters, it doesn't mean we have to lose it all. We don't have to get miserable. We have to be able to stay connected with our child or our children. We have to be connected and stay connected with family, with friends, and the communities around us. If we choose to go the lonely way, it is very, very depressing. Like I recently again heard a story of somebody who is not really an empty nester, but she has carried herself as if she has nobody in this world who loves her, even when her children are with her. But something came, she got into depression, and she is not an empty nester by God's design, but she made it by choice, by choosing to make herself lonely and depressed and everything that goes with it. When we become empty nesters, like I have embraced in my own life, we have to create new routines. Before my children were around, when my husband was still around, and before COVID came to bring us onto the online space, there are so many things that I never used to do, because all my life was revolving around family. It is the children wake up in the morning, prepare for them to go to school, make sure their clothes are clean. You are thinking of the significant other. Is everything right? Then you come back from, you go to work and come back, and your life is still rotating around your family as well as the extended family members who are around you. And that keeps you very, very busy. But when that space is now left empty and it is vacant and devoid of something, you need to find something to fill it. So you can do this by creating new routines in your life. Like one of the new routines that I created in my life was to write. Sadly, the first book that I wrote was about a sad part of my life, but I had to bring out the positive side of it. And that is a very good routine. And as I speak now, in over 50% past the stage of writing my next book, which will also be a very interesting read, because that will talk so much even about my empty nest experience and how I've juggled it. The other thing that we need to do is to stay engaged and active. I'm very engaged, like I was being introduced. I'm a digital Kaka, I'm a food evangelist. I do ministry with Scripture Union, with the Bible Society of Uganda. I serve on 2 school boards, and these all keep me very, very busy, so that I don't actually feel that I'm redundant at any point in time. But when we do this, we also need to be very mindful that we do not burn out by overexerting ourselves. So you do it mindfully, in a manner that will glorify God, because if you burn out, then you start complaining, and it means you are not serving God cheerfully. So we need to take it easy, because this change is very major. You can imagine you've lived with your child. Before Yvonne got married, I mean, we had been together. She went to university, she came back home. The dad passed away, we were together. So it made the 2 of us. So her going away was very, very tough for me, because then it looked like I was actually going to stay alone. I said I got married and we started off 2. We got children, 1 passed on. And now the only one that I remained with, the one that I was clinging to, was also now moving away. So the mixed feeling came. I was happy that my daughter was getting married, and getting married to a man. You know what that means in these present times. But again, I was very emotional. She's getting married so far away. And yet I came to my senses. I acknowledged the change had to come. I could not choose for her to get married to somebody who was going to live next door, so that I can be visiting her, or she can also be visiting me. So I had to allow that to happen, and it has happened gradually, and we are living it. I mean, she also struggles the other side, although her nest is now more full than mine, but we struggle, and I have learned to embrace my new freedom. And in my new freedom, besides the things that I do, like I've mentioned in my bio, I just enjoy my life. I do what I want when I feel like doing it. I live not too far away from Forest Mall, where there's a nice ice cream parlor. So there are times when I just remember that, okay, the girls used to ask us out and take us to Ugorobi to go and eat ice cream, or I don't know, frozen yogurt. So I tell myself, okay, I can go and do this myself. So I get into my car, I drive and go and eat my ice cream and drive back home. So I'm enjoying my freedom, but building onto the kind of habits that we had when the family was still all together. The season of the empty nest is very good for us. Like, again, one of my sisters shared with me that during the time when she was raising the family, she packed everything. She packed everything and gave her every life, all her energy, everything about her was focused on raising the family and taking care of a very large extended family. I mean, at the time I got married too, my family size was so big that I don't even know how I managed it, but by the grace of God, God enabled us to do all these things. So she realized and she told me that she packed away a part of her life, the greater part of her life. So when she became an empty nester and she decided now to embrace herself and start doing things for herself, including going back to school, that is when she realized how much she had actually given of her time to the rest of the family and had not taken care of herself. So now she's enjoying the time that she has, but she still enjoys the time of relating with her children and her grandchildren. For those of you who are married, and for those of you that will be married when the empty nest season comes, it is a time for you to also rekindle your love with both for yourself and with your significant other. Because most times when we have family and children, women tend to concentrate so much on the children and the men feel left out. So when the emptiness season comes, the man comes in and some of them want to revenge and say, okay, you ignored me the time when your children are here. Now that they are gone, I also need my space. I'm used to my loneliness. But friends, let this not happen to you. This is a time for you to rekindle as you relive the stories of where your journey started. And also embrace personal growth. I became a certified Maxwell leadership coach, speaker, and trainer after Yvonne moved out of home. And I needed to engage myself more because I had also retired early and I needed to occupy myself meaningfully. Because short of doing that, who knows, I could have gone bonkers. But that was not my plan. I needed to live my life to the full as I serve my God. Let us also remember that the emptiness season in our lives is not a time for good riddance. Emptiness can overwhelm. So for those of us who have not yet reached there and probably had not planned for it adequately, please plan for that season in as much as it is possible. If everything remains constant, that the children will grow, the children will all settle in their own homes, the children will have their jobs, the children will live to their ripe old age, then you need to plan how you're going to manage that time when the children go. We built a house which was big. We started off on a house we had shared space, the bedrooms, it was a 3-bedroom house, and we had double deckers in most of the rooms, including the servants' quarters, because our family size was big, as I say. Some people were even sleeping on mattresses on the floor, just to be able to accommodate our family size. But with time, as things improved and we weaned away some of the people that we were taking care of, we built what we thought was a dream home, where every child had their bedroom and we had a wing for the guests as well. But that became a big burden to me when Ivan passed on and Elena passed on and Yvonne passed on. But because we had planned and built this house in an urban area, I was very able to quickly plan and convert that property into an asset, because anyway, we had agreed with Ivan that is not where we are going to settle in our old age. So we were transiting and knew that in our old age, when we became empty nesters, we are going to have a smaller, more cozy kind of space to live in. So you need to plan so that you don't have, I'm seeing so many people selling 6, 7 self-contained bedroomed houses. And that is only because they've come and realized that, wait a minute, the children are actually going away. What are we going to do with all these 7 self-contained bedrooms in this house? So it is not very, very healthy. It may look glamorous, especially for the younger people that you feel you want to have a big house, but there's a time where there will be the downside of it. You don't want to get to that point when the house becomes too big for you, and probably it is in a place where you cannot even convert it to get money out of it when you need the money. The emptiness season can cause loneliness, it can cause fear, it can cause anxiety, cause boredom, depression, as well as causing people to develop bad habits. There are people that I know that developed drinking habits after the children left home, and they felt frustrated that they had spent most of their useful lifetime working so hard for these children, but who have now moved away, and the children don't even relate well with them because they were sort of distanced. And some children who have been taken to boarding schools tell you that I don't really relate with my parents well because I was cast away in a boarding school, so I am more closer to my friends and my teachers than I am to my parents. So let us plan well so that we do not cause that kind of time to come and we feel all these bad negative sides for it. But should it come, please, this is the body of Christ for those of us who are here. Seek help, talk to people. I have so many daughters, both on this online church of Uganda, at St. Luke's where I fellowship from. My friends' children are my children, their grandchildren are my grandchildren. So I'm a very free bird and I have none of these things coming into my way. I am living my life to the full and I prioritize self-care first and foremost. And when I talk about self-care, don't say that now because my husband passed away, or maybe some have divorced, or because we've separated, maybe I'm now single. I should not take care of what I look like, what I eat, that I exercise. You need to take care of yourself, what you eat physically. Your mental health must be very, very good, because if your mental health is not addressed, that is when you're going to get into depression, and the resultant effects are not going to be good. Even if your children would have time to be able to come and make amends and get back to you. And then remember, they also have their lives to live. So let us not imprison them in our lives. And every time we have a time to celebrate, let us celebrate our wins, either individually, like I go and eat my ice cream, or with friends, or you get up and move. Just recently, I came back from a trip with women, and we were a big group, a mixed group. We had young ladies, we had old people like me, some older than me, but we just went to have fun. We took a trip to Dubai just to go and have fun, to go to the desert, to play in the sand, to just laugh and play. So that is the time when you find that empty nesting is good. If you've planned and God has been on your side and you have some little money, and you don't have to go to such expensive or faraway places. Even just taking a day off, just drive maybe from Naguru and you go maybe to Nigeria and discover an eatery in Nigeria, because I'm told there's somebody who cooks very nice local food there. So you can go and enjoy that local food of a different cultural group and you'll enjoy it. As for me, like I said, as a family, I am very close to my sister-in-law, who is also an empty nester. Empty nester both in terms of the fact that the children have, one is married, two are working far away, but she still has one who is at home. But we embrace our time together. I mean, sometimes we even choose to walk. She stays in Bukota, I stay in Naguru. Sometimes we just decide and say we are going to walk and meet midway. And then funnily, we accompany one another. She accompanies me very close to my home. Then I realize I'm about to get to my home, but she has a longer distance to go. So I accompany her again. And then we reach a certain point and we say, no, now this is midpoint, now let everybody go back their way. But besides that, we enjoy our times because we are reliving the times when we were young mothers, when we were mothers of teenagers, when we were mothers of young adults, and now we are reliving this through our grandchildren. Here you can see me with my grandchild. I first met him when he was 5 months old. Because of COVID, I couldn't travel. And this is my sister-in-law, the Senga of my mother, and see her with her adorable grandchildren. And over Christmas, every year we decide as family, we meet together. And this was now the first time when these two cousins, this little boy here is now here, and then this girl is the one who is here. They met and they were very excited about being cousins and meeting and playing. And for us as empty nest grandmothers, it really gives us so much joy, and I think it does for everybody else who is already in this kind of like a space, regardless of how far the children are. So we pray that the Lord will enable us to embrace life, whatever it throws at us, and we pray that we'll have good health and that God will provide for our needs, so that even when the children have left us, we do not have to worry and depend or curse them for not taking care of us, but we can live a good and productive life, serving God wherever He has placed us, because that is His purpose for us. Thank you for listening to me. God bless you.
Glory to God. Hallelujah. We bless the Lord for such a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Mrs. Christine Kyayonka Obanya, for actually availing yourself for used by the Lord. And we actually glorify Him and give Him honor that He has used you and caused you to share with us those nitty-gritties. I kept on calling for questions, but if anything, I am really grateful that we have been able to be a part of this listening, embracing the empty nest. And a few of the things that are key to note is that we need to choose to remain connected as the questions come in. Just a little bit of a review, just to embrace this emptiness, you also need to create new routines. Mrs. Christine told us that she is writing her second book and she is midway. So I believe prayers are in order so that she can successfully complete and not get that writer's block that writers tend to come through. Then embrace a personal growth. And one thing that I actually had very clearly was a plan that empty nest experience. Actually, when she brought it up, I was coming up with a question, but she broke it down and she led us through the way she and the beloved of her youth planned for this time, and she's not living in such a way that she regrets that, there was this big thing and she's not able to use it, and she is happy and enjoying her time. Celebrate wins with many others, your family, and then your friends, and then also prioritizing self care. Those are some of the things. Take yourself out for ice cream, as Mrs. Christine takes herself out also. So you could join her and maybe meet up and have a cone or a cup. However, I seem not to see any questions. The one that I came up with was actually already answered, as I said. What is the title of her book? Yes. Mrs. Christine, there's a question. What is the title of your book and where can we find it and at how much?
Let me get the book and show it to you.
Okay.
So my book is titled The Fearless Leader, Inspiring Legacy of Ivan Kyayonka. This is a biography of my late husband that I thought that I needed to share the leadership lessons that I'd learned from him, so that even when he's long gone, people can take these nuggets and be able to plan and prepare and live their life to the full during the time that God has accorded them. I have copies with me. I can autograph them for you. They are also available at a Restock Bookshop, Uganda Bookshop, and Book Point, Bugolobi Mall.
Thank you so much for those details. I hope we can reach out and then get copies autographed by the writer herself. And then there is Mr. Ibiliku is asking, can we invite relatives or friends to fill the nest? However, he goes ahead and says, how will one manage his interests vis-a-vis the hidden interest of others?
Yes, it is very okay to invite relatives to fill the empty nest. For instance, I've filled the empty nest in my life, in my home. With relatives, I lost several siblings who left behind children. But these children, during their primary to secondary education time, unless they're studying in Kampala here, like one was in St. Francis in Tinda Chigowa. So that one, when she was a candidate, she used to stay with me during the holidays. Otherwise, for the sake of filling the void of our mother's empty nest, we made a plan with mommy that the grandchildren will all reside with her during the holidays. But whoever now comes to join university would now transition from grandmother's place to come to Auntie Jaja Senga's place. So I have lived with my nieces and nephews when they are at university, because that also has given me an opportunity to mentor them during that transition where there is very little or there is reduced enforcement of rules away from the school setup. But even when you do this, you need to be considerate about what is it going to cost you. Like I said, you don't want to get a burnout. You need to plan it in such a way that you are able to manage your costs well, because there is a lot more to just getting people to live in those rooms. There is the upkeep of those people, there are the utility bills, there are so many other things that you will require to use. So you need to have planned early enough so that you can have resources, disposable income to be able to take care of that. But the other arrangement also is for you to find a mechanism of reducing on the food that you buy in the city here by getting food from upcountry, especially the foods which can be preserved, so that you cut down the cost of some of these expenses.
I want to believe that that was a very clear answer. There is a question by Dr. Faith, a very interesting one. And she's asking that, what about when the children go to boarding school? Is that empty nest?
It is an empty nest. Why do I call it an empty nest? It is a temporary empty nest. Because yesterday I was with my niece, she came to visit me, my grandmother's eldest granddaughter. And she has two children. One is in a first year, no, she's a second year at MOOBS, and the second born is P5, but in a boarding school. Reason being that the mother does a lot of field work, and she could not trust her son with maids. You know what happens in some of these situations. Sometimes the maids are also even not reliable. So you may find that in a day school, there's nobody to pick and drop the child, and there's nobody to take care of the child at home. So she has a very short time with the boy during this holiday. But the boy also wanted to go and visit his friends. So when he went to visit the friends, the mother went to pick the child, and her friend said, no, but your son and my children have gone to visit their grandmother, who is a friend's mother. So she said, I walked back into my house. My daughter is at campus, and I walked into this house. My son, my little boy is not there because he has gone visiting, and yet I have him for such a short time. But then it then dawned on her, she realized and said, wait a minute, he's just in boarding school and I can see, but time is going to come when he will actually walk out of my place. So for 3 months when the child is away in a boarding school, you are empty. You feel you miss your children. That is why you look forward to going to visit them during the VD. And you want to carry the whole home and everything that the child has missed to carry to the school because it is visitation day.
You want to carry the whole home. Thank you so much for being very, very specific. We thank the Lord indeed that He has used you, Mrs. Christine Kyayonka. I don't see any other inquiries.
I've seen Ezekiel has asked here that is it still an empty nest if you are just an unmarried youth living alone in your castle? That is not an empty nest. An empty nest is because you built that nest to breed. And after you've bred your children, then they walk away and they leave you. Like after the chicken hatches the eggs, the chicks go away, either you and me eat them, or for the birds, they fly away and they live their own lives. So yours is not an empty nest, but your parents are the ones witnessing and experiencing an empty nest because now you've moved away and now you are independent. Like I said, sometimes it is neither education nor the fact that you are working far away, but you just feel I don't want to live in these people's home anymore because they're going to ask me, what time have you come back in? Maybe I want to play my music loud and they're like, don't make noise for us. So you are not an empty nester in that case, but your parents are.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't want to think we've left anything left out. I hope we have answered most of the questions. I'd like to say thank you so much. We bless the Lord who has actually used you to his honor and to his glory. And thank you again for availing yourself as an instrument ready to be used to extend his wonderful, glorious goodness to the ends of the earth. Thank you again, Mrs. Christine Kyayonka Obonyo. There are so many things in the chat room. We are truly grateful. I think it is at this time that I would like to hand over